Yeah.
Japan, Zambia, 5-0. I was
Woo!
shocked at this score line. I'm not going to lie, because so many people have Zambia, myself included, as these dark horses, right? Because you hear of a lot of talented players that they have. Banda, Kundananji, very, very good talents. And I highly rate Japan, but I didn't. 5-0 is a blowout. That's a blowout.
I didn't
And
expect 5-0. I expected maybe a couple goals. I thought Japan was going to take it for sure, but 5, wow. And so many quickly, sorry, I didn't mean to just interrupt you there.
No,
Jeff.
this is great. Go ahead.
4 goals pretty quickly in the second half. I feel like Zambia, they got a goal, conceded a second one, and then they just let the energy go. Banda, she was isolated up there.
I know.
She was hanging out by herself, and the Japanese players were marking her the whole time. And I'm like,
I mean, yeah,
of course they were,
you would. And that's what happens, right? That's what happens in top tier football. When you're that good, you're going to be, people are going to make sure you're marked. People are going to make sure you're taken care of. Yeah. Zambia, 0 shots, obviously 0 shots on target at that point.
Crazy.
Again, you have Kundananji, you have Banda. For them not to have even an opportunity to strike on net, it says so much about Japan. And I am so impressed with Japan. I mean, how quick they are, how smart they are, how they pass the ball. I'm like, the way as a former midfielder, when I see these beautiful passes on the ground, my heart just lights up because I think that it's just one of the most beautiful parts of the game. And I feel like Japan was very clinical in finding lanes, in movement on and off the ball, in precision and intention in their passes. We saw that Takanaka, 2 goals called offside.
Oh my gosh.
2 goals called offside. And then she finally gets that third one that, was perfect. But when you look at all of the goals, even the ones that were called off, the passes to her, like the threading of the needle, the sequence, how good Japan was, I was like, this is beautiful. I'm now like, Japan is a strong contender in my opinion.
100%. I was like, I'm a City fan. We all know that. I like to bring up City whenever I can. But it was like some KDB energy out there. In the midfield, to be completely honest, I thought Japan was a well-oiled machine. Very well-oiled. And I want to ask you, like, bringing that up, where do you think now, seeing that game, how do you think Japan is going to do in this tournament compared to the big teams? How do you foresee them, competing moving forward? Because they could do a lot better than what people think.
Oh, yeah. And I think in my predictions, I have Japan getting out of the group. Because this is the group with Spain, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So I had Spain and Japan saying like either one of these teams could be going 1, and then if one goes 1, the other one's going 2. So I have Spain and Japan getting out. I think Japan can make a run. 1, through their quality. 2, they just seemed happy every single time they scored a goal. They seemed like a positive team. You could see their chemistry on the pitch. Again, Zambia lacked. Like, I'm wondering now, are they an overrated dark horse? Their back line was in shambles that time, completely unorganized. But man, I really like Japan. And I've always said this about Japan, even on the men's side. And we saw the men's side upset Germany in the Men's World Cup, but the women too, such quick pace. It's not easy to play against. And not only are they quick physically, but they're quick in their brain. Like, they're such high football IQ when they play, and they find each other in the seams. And when those moments happen, it's just like you're watching gold. I love those seamless, quick passes that find your target striker. And then if they're able to finish, which clearly they're able to finish, like, scoring wasn't a problem for them today. So, if they're able to continue that fast-paced game with their passing and their finishing, I think that Japan could upset some teams that I wouldn't even necessarily consider it an upset because I rate them highly, but maybe surprise a lot of people who would necessarily think like, it would be England or France or Germany. I think Japan could be in that mix too.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say there. Also, the point I found really interesting was you said they look like they're having fun. Yeah. And they do. They're out there. They're enjoying themselves. In one of the post-match games that, like, interviews, conferences, things that I was watching, one of the players, I forget who it was, but she referred to everybody as her, literally, me and my friends out there, we made it happen. And I think they probably, clearly now, looking at this game, have an excellent, backroom practice environment. Like, it's so key to have a team and teammates that really believe in each other and trust each other. And that really comes out on the pitch. And I think that that's really interesting compared to a lot of the teams in the tournament that are maybe having some drama or some problems with their teammates or their federations. Like, who knows? Everything comes into play. And I think they're really going out there with true belief, and they got each other's backs, and that's huge.
Well, you're a big City fan, Julia,
Yep.
obviously on the men's side and the women's side. But if you look at what the men did, how they won the treble, this team looks so close. The relationship between Grealish and Haaland and Foden, like they're always cheering for each other. Haaland's cheering for Alvarez when Alvarez there's a substitution. So Haaland's off and Alvarez scores. Haaland's freaking out. Like that's such an important part of a team that I don't think it's talked enough about, because if there is that chemistry, if there is that family aspect, if there is that no competition between players because we are a team and we want everyone to succeed, these teams can go significantly far in a tournament. Totally. And I don't know much about Japan in that aspect, but watching them on the pitch and seeing how happy they were, like you have to enjoy the moment too. Yes, the World Cup's overwhelming. Yes, it's the biggest stage, but you have to enjoy that moment and be present. And if your team is, again, taking on a Zambia team that a lot of people were rating them as a dark horse, and you're able to put 5 goals past them and eliminate any shots and eliminate Barbara Banda and eliminate Rachel Kunananji. Celebrate, enjoy it, have fun. And I loved to see that from them.
Because that's such a win, and so this morning too, I was also listening, bringing up one more City thing, but it connects. I promise everyone.
I know, I love it.
But okay, so the men's team, they're in Tokyo right now for their preseason tour, and Pep Guardiola was just saying some interesting things in his press conference about Japanese footballers, and he was saying just him through his observations. We all know Pep knows everything; he watches everything, and he was saying Japanese footballers, both men and women, he did reference. So I thought that was great that he mentioned the women as well. But he said the one thing that shocks him is how their chemistry on the pitch together, but also they are dynamic, they are vibrant, and they can change the pace of a game in a second. And that's what makes them so hard to play against. That's what we see very clearly with, Matoma in the Premier League as well. I think he's really brought a lot of light to, Japanese football. But you can absolutely see that dynamism, that vibrancy, and that ability to just hold it together in Japan's performance today.
Absolutely. 100%. And I love that Pep also put the women in there too. Like, he's so classy. And for Pep to say that, he's a master tactician. He knows what he's talking about. Obviously, look at everything he's accomplished. And I feel the same way about Japan. And I like that comment about they can change the pace. That's one of the best parts about Japan, is just how fast they are. And again, it's not only physically, it's how mentally quick they are. And you can't teach that. That's just something that's in their genes, in their, their chemistry as a team. They're so fun to watch. And again, Japan and Germany in the Men's World Cup, I believe Japan made a comeback and obviously stunned Germany, because Germany was a favorite to win the World Cup in some people's opinions, and how they were able to do that was exceptional. And I think that the women will be able to do very, very important things as well, like that, if not more. I was very impressed by the women, and I can't wait. Japan's another team on my little roster now, kind of up there with Ireland, where I'm I want to watch every game.
100%. And I think their Japan versus Spain game is going to be very interesting. I mean, right now, Japan, just by goal differential, is on top of Spain. So they must be riding high right now. But they'll know that Spain's also going to want to come for them. They're going to know Spain's going to be watching their every move. But I do think even if Japan goes down to Spain, don't count them out. They'll come back. Yeah. They'll come back. Well, and I think that's what makes them interesting.
And it's interesting to even think that they would still be above Spain right now with goal differential when Spain beat Costa Rica 3-0, right? You're thinking about, again, they were clinical in their goal scoring, where people were Spain should have scored more goals with the amount of chances that they had. So it's going to be very interesting. That's going to be a very, very good game. I love that you brought that up. And I think it's between those two teams in terms of who comes out of the group.
Yep, absolutely agree. We'll just have to wait and see, but yeah.
Quickly before we move on, Zambia's goalkeeper got a red card.
Oh, wow. Drama.
Yeah, I know, drama. I felt for her, but I mean, it was the right decision by the referee. And first attempt for Japan hits the crossbar, but goalkeeper encroachment, which again has been a theme at this World Cup. But I have to give credit to the referees because I think that they're using VAR correctly. And I'm not always a fan because I don't always think refs do use it correctly. But in the moments that I've seen so far, I think that the refs have done a good job of being like, that was encroachment. And it's not easy to make that decision. Like, okay, a player missed the first penalty. Now you're basically giving them another chance, but they have been making the correct decisions. And, Japan ends up getting the second chance and a nice 5-0 victory for them in their first game. And now sometimes I think when, Julia, we talk about when you have a tough first game, like maybe the US and Canada, you have to build on that. Like you have to. But I also think it's very hard to have a very good first game. And how do you build on a very good performance, right? Like you can see it from either perspective right now. Japan set a bar very high. So how do they keep consistency in that regard of their quality? That's also not an easy thing to do. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. And maybe Zambia just had an off day and they also surprise us. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. I think Japan, I would think I perceive them to come into their next game with a fresh mind, a clean slate. You have to take it that way because if you honestly take any points of information, feelings, emotions, experiences, anything back from older games, like it's not going to bode well for you. You have to look at it as a fresh chance, a fresh start. And I really think Japan is going to do that. But it's a good point. You start well, that's pressure, right?
Yeah, it's not easy to be consistent, and you have to be consistent at these tournaments. But maybe Japan has it in the tank, man. I don't know. I was very with them. They're one of my favorite teams right now.
It was worth getting up early.
Yes, I agree.